Happy Halloween. It is October 31st, and I'm going to go through all of the books that I read in October. I finished 8 books in October, which is pretty good. Anywhere from 8 to 12 books in a month, I feel like will be a really good reading pace for me next year. So I read every single book on my October TBR, with the exception of one, and it wasn't my fault that I didn't read it. The first book I read, and I've already talked about in several videos, was Alchemy of Secrets by Stephanie Garber. This was a 5-star read for me. I loved this book. I finished this book very, very early on in October. I loved this book. Great Halloween-y vibes without being too paranormal. It is the start of a new Stephanie Garber series. The next book I wanted to read was The Court of the Dead by Rick Riordan and Mark Oshiro. This is a part of the Percy Jackson universe, the Camp Half-Blood Chronicles. I really enjoyed this book as well. I gave this book a 4.5 stars, which is pretty good for a more recent Riordan book. Overall, the whole Percy Jackson universe is a 5-star universe, but recently, because I've been getting older and the books are staying middle grade and YA, I've just been losing a little bit of interest in them. This one had a very clear thematic message to it, and I really, really enjoyed it. The next book I read was for my book club, which is If I Go Missing. My book club is very much out of my comfort zone types of reads, and I didn't really love this one, but it wasn't bad. I ended up giving this a 3.75 stars. It's a standard mystery thriller. I read it in like 2 days. I wasn't that intrigued by it, but it was fast paced. The next book I read was The Kiss Curse by Erin Sterling. This is the sequel to The Ex-Hex, which I read last year, and I'll probably read The Wedding Witch next year. These are very atmospheric Halloween-y reads, and it is perfect for the fall October season. Cute, filler, fluffy, contemporary romances with a little paranormal element. 4 stars. Next was my 100th book of the year, and this was a 5-star read. I was so excited about this one. I'm really excited to continue the series, and that was Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. I absolutely adored this book and will definitely be continuing with the next 2. I was under the impression it was a trilogy. Apparently there might be more books coming out. So the next book I finished was also my final book in the Hades X Persephone saga, which is A Touch of Chaos. I started reading this series a couple of years ago. I am a Greek mythology buff. I really like reading about Greek mythology, and there's a lot of mythology-based romantasy books out there, and I tend to like all of them. Next was one of my anticipated releases, and that was The Things Gods Break by Abigail Owen. The thing about this series is when I first started reading The Games Gods Play, I was like, this is giving fanfiction, this is giving Wattpad, and then I really got into it by the end. And the same thing kind of happened with this book. I didn't quite remember a lot of the things that happened in The Games Gods Play, even though I read it earlier this year sometime, and then I really, really got into it. This book is quite long, but I think it's interestingly structured. I enjoyed it a lot. I gave it a 4.75 stars. And the final book that I read this month was Seduction Theory by Emily Adrian. This was not on my TBR at all. It was not on my radar at all, even though I own it. I own it via Book of the Month audio. And then I ended up picking it up and finishing it in one sitting because it's a very short audiobook. And it was very interesting. Definitely not one of the genres I normally read. I gave it a 3.5 stars. And those are the 8 books I read in October. Follow for my November TBR and the start of NaNoWriMo.